Walk into any dealer this year and watch what actually sells. Leader bikes making 180 horsepower nobody uses past second gear. Heavy baggers that get ridden twice a summer. Most riders in 2026 are buying way too much motorcycle. These 6 fix that, and the last one quietly bakes in about $1,000 of gear most people pay extra for. Number 6, Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. Let's start with the number that makes this whole list make sense: $6,149. That's the out-the-door MSRP on a brand new fuel-injected 648cc twin-cylinder motorcycle with a 3-year unlimited mile warranty. Read that again. 3 years, unlimited miles on a bike that costs less than some people spend on exhaust and tires for a Harley. Here's why that price exists. Royal Enfield builds these in the volume out of India, and they're not chasing horsepower records. They're chasing the rider who wants a real motorcycle without a payment plan that outlives the bike. The 648 cubic centimeters air and oil-cooled parallel twin makes 47 horsepower. On paper, that's nothing special. In the real world, it's a torquey, unhurried engine that pulls cleanly from low revs and sounds fantastic doing it. The kind of bike you ride to enjoy the road, not to terrorize it. And it looks the part. This is essentially a 1960s British roadster reborn with modern brakes, ABS, and tubeless tires. People genuinely think it costs double what it does, but here's the honest part. At 480 pounds wet, it's heavy for a 47 horsepower bike, so it never feels fast. It feels relaxed. The stock suspension is soft and gets bouncy if you push hard on bad pavement. This is not a canyon weapon, so why does it open the list? Because for somebody walking into a dealer about to finance a $13,000 cruiser they'll outgrow, this is the wake-up call. You're getting 90% of the modern classic experience of a Triumph Bonneville T120, a bike that stickers around $12,500. For less than half the money. Ask any Interceptor owner. They'll tell you the same thing. Nobody regrets this purchase. Number 5, Honda Rebel 500. Here's the problem nobody at the dealership wants to solve for you. Most new riders buy a cruiser that's too tall, too heavy, and too intimidating to actually enjoy, and then it sits in the garage. The Rebel 500 was built specifically to kill that problem. The seat sits at 27.2 inches. That's one of the lowest in all of motorcycling, which means almost anyone can flat-foot it at a stoplight with confidence. If you've ever felt that little jolt of panic tiptoeing a big cruiser to a stop, you understand exactly how much that matters. This is the bike that makes the first 1,000 miles feel safe instead of stressful. Underneath the bobber styling is Honda's 471 cubic centimeters parallel twin, smooth, predictable, and basically impossible to kill. It's not a rocket, but around town and up to highway speed, it's plenty, and it sips fuel. And for 2026, Honda made ABS standard across the entire Rebel 500 line, which used to be an upcharge. That's a genuine safety win at no extra cost. Now the catch, and it's a real one. The fuel tank is small at 3 gallons, so your range is limited, and the seat that's so confidence-inspiring in a parking lot gets old past about 90 minutes. This is a city and short trip bike, not a long-haul tourer. Price is $6,799. Compare that to a Harley-Davidson Nightster, sitting near $11,000, and the value gap is obvious? Honestly? For somebody learning to ride who wants cruiser looks without cruiser weight, I'd put a new rider on this over almost anything else in the showroom. It's the safest first bike that's still cool money you can spend. If you're getting value out of this breakdown, hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel reach more riders. Now, the next 3 bikes are where this list stops being about beginners and starts being about bikes you'll keep for a decade. Number 4, Honda NX500. Put this one next to a $20,000 BMW GS in a parking lot, and a lot of riders would tell you the BMW is the real adventure bike. For the way 95% of people actually ride, they'd be wrong, and the NX500 is the proof. Most so-called adventure riders never leave the pavement. They want the upright seating, the wind protection, the go-anywhere confidence, And then they spend their weekends on back roads and the occasional gravel driveway. The NX500 nails exactly that brief and skips the part where you spend a luxury car price for capability you'll never touch. It uses the same 471 cubic centimeters twin from the Rebel, here making 47 horsepower in a tall, comfortable, long-travel chassis. For 2026, Honda added its e-clutch system, which lets you shift without using the clutch lever if you want to, plus a 5-inch color TFT screen. In stop-and-go traffic, that clutchless shifting is weirdly addictive. And here's the kicker. For 2026, the NX500 got a price cut, landing around $6,899. Adventure styling, real comfort, Honda reliability, under $7,000. Where it falls short, despite the rugged looks, this is a road-biased machine. It rolls on a 17-inch rear wheel with street-leaning tires, so on genuinely rough trails, it's out of its depth. And loaded up with luggage, 47 horsepower starts feeling thin on a long climb, but against a Kawasaki Versys 650, which you'll meet in a minute, or a pricier KTM 390 Adventure, the NX500 splits the difference perfectly. Lighter and cheaper than the Kawasaki, more comfortable and more reliable than most of its rivals. This used to be the CB500X, and it's been quietly one of the best value bikes Honda makes for years. Most people just walk right past it. Number 3. Yamaha MT-07, 689 cubic centimeters, 270-degree cross-plane crank. Roughly 73 horsepower in a motorcycle that weighs just 403 pounds wet. Those 3 numbers are the whole story, and they explain why this bike has a cult following that borders on religion. Here's what that spec sheet feels like on the road. The 689cc CP2 twin makes its torque low and early, so it lunges out of corners and pulls third-gear wheelies if you are not careful. Yet it is so light and narrow that a nervous rider can also just put around town all day. That combination, genuinely fun and genuinely easy, is rare. Most bikes pick one. For 2026, Yamaha finally fixed the MT-07's longest-standing complaints. It now comes with proper 41mm inverted KYB forks, radial mount 4-piston brake calipers, lightweight spin-forged wheels, and a full TFT display with ride modes and switchable traction control. The old version felt budget under hard braking. This one does not. The honest flaw is that the rear shock is still the weak link. It is underdamped for aggressive riding, and serious riders almost always upgrade it within the first year. There is still no cruise control, which stings a little on the highway. At $8,599, here's the real question. Would you actually buy one over the alternatives? Against a Kawasaki Z650, the Yamaha is simply more exciting. Against a Suzuki GS X8S, you are trading a little tech for less weight and more agility. Against an Aprilia Tuono 660, you are saving thousands. This is the one bike on this entire list I would most likely buy with my own money. And I do not say that lightly. It does almost everything well and costs less than bikes that do far less. Subscribe if you want more honest motorcycle breakdowns like this. No spec sheet reading, just straight talk. Because this next bike adds a cylinder, and that changes everything. Number 2. Triumph Trident 660. A buddy of mine, Test, rode one of these on a whim. He had gone to the dealer for a Japanese twin and figured he would swing a leg over the Triumph just to say he did. He came back grinning and put a deposit down the same afternoon. The reason was the engine, and once you ride a triple, the appeal makes instant sense. That is the thing the spec sheet undersells. The Trident runs a 660 cubic centimeters inline 3, and a triple gives you the best of both worlds. You get the low-end torque of a twin plus a screaming smooth top end like a 4. For 2026, Triumph borrowed the hotter Daytona 660 engine, so the Trident now makes a claimed 94 horsepower and revs to 12,650 RPM. That is a serious jump in power and character over the bike it replaces, and it makes 80% of its torque, from just 3,000 revolutions per minute, so it is fast and friendly at the same time. And Triumph loaded it. A bidirectional quick shifter, cornering ABS, traction control, ride modes, and cruise control all come standard. At this price, that electronics package is borderline unfair to the competition. The catch is that the front forks are not adjustable, which the keenest riders will notice on a track day. And there is an awkward family problem. The bigger, more powerful Trident 800 sits just over $1,000 away, which makes some buyers hesitate. That hesitation is exactly why this bike matters here. Triumph cut the 2026 Trident 660, priced to $8,745, down from its original $9,145 sticker, to keep it compelling. So now you are getting British triple character, a near-complete electronics suite, and 94 horsepower for almost the same money as a Yamaha MT-07. If the MT-07 is the people's champion, this is the connoisseur's pick. Before we get to the final bike, the one that includes gear most riders pay extra for, drop a comment, twin or triple. Which engine would you actually choose? Number 1. Kawasaki Versys 650 LT. Here's the trap riders fall into with touring. They buy a bare bike, then spend another $1,500 on hard luggage, handguards, and a taller windscreen just to make it actually usable for distance. The Versys 650 LT solves that right on the showroom floor. The bags and guards are already on it, and they are already in the price. That LT matters. For $10,399, you get the 649cc parallel twin making 66 horsepower, plus a set of 28-liter quick-release hard saddlebags and handguards bolted on from the factory. Buy those bags aftermarket and you are easily looking at $1,000 or more on their own. So the Versys is the rare bike where the loaded touring version is the smart money version. On the road, the 66 horsepower twin is tuned for low and mid-range grunt, which is exactly what you want loaded up for a weekend. Long travel Showa suspension soaks up the broken pavement that beats up sporty air bikes. The windscreen adjusts 4 ways, and there is traction control and a TFT screen with phone connectivity. It just eats miles. The honest limitation is that the adventure styling writes a check the bike will not cash off-road. It rolls on 17-inch street wheels, so this is a sport tourer wearing adventure clothes. Keep it on the pavement and gravel, not the trails. And at nearly 500 pounds with the bags, it is no featherweight. But for the rider who wants one bike to commute all week and tour all weekend, 2 up, in comfort, without the aftermarket shopping spree, nothing else here touches it. Against a Suzuki V-Strom 650 or a stripped NX500, the Versys is the one that is genuinely ready to leave town the day you buy it. So what should you actually buy in 2026? The wrong bike is almost always too much bike, too heavy, too powerful, too expensive for how you really ride. If it were my money, the MT-07. Want distance and a passenger? The Versys, gear included. So tell me, which of these 6 are you buying?